We bring pictures from Lightroom into Photoshop for a couple of specific reasons right near the end of the process, just before we export and deliver to the clients. The things we're looking for to fix in Photoshop is skin retouching, to use the liquify tool, so adjust somebody's physical shape, removing distractions in the background or stray hairs or things that are taking away from our subject, replacing skies, and difficult images, or ones that we want to do more specific work into that Lightroom isn't suited for. So specific selections, specific adjustments. You have a lot more control within Photoshop down to the actual pixel level. So if you want to make adjustments that are very finite, very refined, that you have to do within Photoshop. So I'm going to go through a few of these techniques, a few of the things that we do to speed things up, and what we do within Photoshop. So here's a lovely bride, lovely skin, except everybody seems to notice in photos much more than in real person about somebody's actual blemishes or changes in their skin. So we're going to touch this up a little bit. First thing that I'm going to do is use what's called the patch tool, which is a type of the healing brush tool. And really what I want to do is keep as much of the natural skin as possible. So any of these bigger blemishes, instead of using the straight healing brush tool, I want to take a part of the skin that it's replacing, so it makes it as natural as possible. And I'm just looking to drag it onto a spot where there is the same general tone of skin, so that it smooths it out nicely. And then we're going to take one more step here before we move out. This would be the quicker version, or shall we say the not to print version of skin retouching. When we're getting something ready for a wedding album, there's a lot more work that we do to it to make it absolutely perfect, because when something's going to be seen for the next 20 years, you want it to be the absolute best that it can be. So again, with our entire premise of making meaningful changes, making your time well spent, and keeping the integrity of reality are our main focuses. So I will often ask the clients whether or not they want something like this. Sometimes people want to keep certain specific blemishes, and sometimes they don't. I'll go through over in a minute, but when I'm doing this with family photos, I'm doing it live with them to ask them how much they want me to adjust. Okay, so then I use a skin softening action, and I'm not going to go through explaining it at the moment because it's rather complicated, but you can use pretty much whatever skin softening action or tool that you want, just as long as it's not affecting the eyes, the lips, the teeth, and that kind of thing. So I want to keep a beautiful tone to the skin. So we're going to do that. And these are all of these changes that we're doing within Photoshop are subtle changes, but a whole bunch of subtle changes together makes a big difference. Making note that when you're softening skin, make sure not to soften only the parts that you like, but also the rest of the image so that it is cohesive. Now, I went, I think, a little bit too far on the top here, so I'm going to take that down just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to sharpen the eyes. That we just got on an action onto a layer mask, which is a one click for us. In this case, 2 clicks. Gone too far. You can always bring it back on a layer. Okay. And then she doesn't need it, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to adjust it anyways. So this is the liquify tool, just bringing down the lines a little bit. Everybody likes looking just a touch slimmer. I look to see if there's any hairs out of place, and sure enough, yes, there is. So let's use the healing brush tool, which is a J on your quick keys. I love quick keys because I don't want to look through the menu for things, and I don't want to move my mouse up to where they're all located. So we'll get rid of some of that. Okay. All right, so our before and after, just with our changes here that we've made, is there's before and after. Okay. We're not going to save these because I'm doing them for the sake of argument, for the sake of discussion. I'll go to that one next. All right, distraction removal. So using the healing brush tool, I like the picture, lovely picture, but I don't like the people here in the background. So we want to remove those people and get them out of the way. This is something, there is a healing brush tool within Lightroom, but it's not nearly as good as this one. And Photoshop also has a content aware fill, so it will look through and say, oh, hey, what do we want actually there? And so we're able to change those things a lot easier. While I'm in here, I will darken down, always doing it on a layer so that you can brush in what you want, just to bring a little bit more attention on them. I will warm it up just a little bit, just a touch. And sometimes you add a little tone to it to bring the image together. So if there's adjustments that you've made and it doesn't quite look together, you can add just a little tone to it. It's subtle, but it ties together the adjustments that you've made to make it look like a proper image. Now, in this case, we have freedom within Photoshop, so I'm going to get rid of that just because that's better. It was distracting me. So is this thing. I could crop that too. That's the other option I would have here. All right, we can close that one up. The liquefy tool. Now, as I said, when I'm doing family portraits or portraits, I'm delivering them in such a way where I deliver them via Zoom. And so I'm showing them their images as I go, and so I can see and hear their reactions, which is really important in order to give people beautiful photos, because sometimes they don't see themselves as beautifully as they should, and we all seem to pick out flaws in ourselves. So we want to minimize those. So in this case, she wanted to have a little less, shall we say, extra on the side, a little less insulation. And I went as far as, when I was delivering this to her, I went as far as she wanted me to, and she was happy when I brought it in quite a bit. But there's a lot of things that you can do in here to enhance, and that's the goal, again, is to enhance, not to create a new person, but to give them the person that they want to be. Okay, so I can do that, which, here's the before and after on that. Okay, pretty significant change. Then we can, with this under skin part, you can always you can do one of these where you just kind of take the under part, make a new layer, and then you can either move it up like that, or you can stretch it up that way. And then bring that back together, and so you have a little less under chin. We can throw our skin retouching on there. Again, with skin, you want to make sure that you get the other parts too. Bring that back just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to crop in here just because our edges are a little frayed. Got some hairs. Now you can choose how far you want to go. Yes, it was a windy day, so there was some hair going places. Again, I will leave it to the client a bit, and give them an indication of what we can do. But I want to remove things that are distracting from them, or from the moment, from the emotion. I personally don't think this one is distracting. We can remove it if we want. The other thing that we can do, if things are going a little bit too high in the hair, we can use the liquefy tool to bring in the outside a little bit. Bring that down without messing with the image. So the frizz becomes a little less frizzy. Okay, so with all of our changes, we came from there to here. Okay. Something else that we can do is we can, I'm gonna do this in a different program. This is called Luminar 4. I mentioned it in the Programs That I Love chapter. Is we can enhance a photo to something that's a little bit more surreal, or not quite so like it was on the day of. So in this case, we are going to adjust it. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do something. Whenever you're making an adjustment, make a layer, and then you can choose the changes that you want. So we'll give it a little bit more interest. Okay, and because we are changing the look of the image, we also want to make sure that we change the tone of the image to match. So we're going to warm that up quite a bit. And then we are going to use a gradient to get us going here. Bring it in. Then I'm going to use a brush to take out a bit of that. Actually, you know what we can do? We can be more fun, use some of these other tools. We're going to select our objects, being those there. We're going to let Photoshop do its thing, including that one. And those ones. Okay, now we are going to bring that back first. And again, the sharp edges we're going to deal with in just a second, but that will get us on the right path. Okay, and then we are going to get rid of some of the sharpness. Do this on less opacity, making sure we've got the right one selected. Yes, that's a lot of clicking. That's the rapid fire version. A whole bunch of little adjustments. And then this one I'm going to take down a little bit like that. Now the whole thing in the background we can bring up in brightness just a little bit and bring up in saturation to match the tone of the rest of our image. I'm just using the spot healing brush here on small micro adjustments in the trees to blend the background a little bit better. I don't like this. Whoever designed that should have done it differently. See the sharp edge there. Got some people in the background, very subtle, but taking away from our couple. Nope, our family in this case. One other thing that I want to do is select the green here, get a nice darker, how about this one? There you go. And we are going to change our brush type to our brush, nope. Change the color of the grass a little bit. It was a dry summer, so it didn't have much green grass. That's okay. We can make green grass. We're going to make a feathered selection. Brighten them up a little bit. Okay. So we came from here to here. So there's a lot that you can do within Photoshop, and if you want to know more about working within Photoshop and doing a bunch of really useful, helpful techniques, we cover that specifically in our photo editing course. I recommend that you join us and learn a bunch of stuff through there as well. You're more than welcome. Please ask any questions that you may have. We love answering questions. We love answering questions. We are more than happy to help you get to where you're going. Straighten up those buildings a little bit. There we go. That is better.